Hello everyone, this is Orlando from A Collector's Dream, and today I just want to show you something that came out in the Sports Collector's Digest, and if you don't subscribe to this magazine, it's a pretty good one, or you can just go online and you can see pretty much this stuff online. I'm still kind of old-fashioned, but usually they talk about a lot of the hobby, how it's going, and the new stuff in the hobby kind of thing. So it's kind of rare sometimes that they'll put articles in here that are for pre-war. So that's what I want to show you today. And this is the article. And this talks about the Mayo cut plugs, which I'll show you a card here. And during my series on pre-war, I kind of passed up the 1800s. Because it's, not as much interest for most people, but I'm going to go ahead and go back to that. But this article was really, really good because it talks about the 1895 Mayo tobacco cards. And really, it was the only big major set. Well, in the 1890s, it was the only set, but the other set really is the old judge cards, and those old judge cards came out like in 4 years, 1886 to 1890, and there's like, I don't know, I say there's 5,000 different cards in that set, and then you had the T206. So this is what the Mayos came in, and it was cut plug tobacco. Basically, it was loose tobacco that you would either smoke or chew, and these were like little tins that they came in, the different tins, or they also came in like a pouch, and they were produced in 1895 by P.H. Mayo and Brother, and then they inserted cards. You can see here they inserted cards in the pouches or the boxes or the tins. That's where they inserted those cards. And again, they're little known cards. They were issued basically in 1894, 1895. And here in this article, it talks about the T206 cards and the old judge cards. But really the first big all baseball set and all football set were the 1895 Mayos and 1894 Mayos. So these are some of the Mayo cards, what they look like here. And they produced football and baseball. And as far as the football, my friend Don at Strongsville, I showed his entire Mayo football set, except for one card, the rarest, and I'll show that in a little bit. But these, really it's a set of 40 cards where there's some variations in there, and they, even though it says that they were produced in 1895, definitely some of them were produced in 1894 because of the team names on there. So just a little bit about the Mayo. Talks about it right here, produced by the Mayo company. And 1895 Mayo's designation is the N300. And their historical significance today as the only set issued in the decade of the 1890s, and the most notable set issued between 1890 and 1909. So really no other major set was issued. There were other sets, but again, those are very rare and very low production. But the major sets were really the Mayo, which also wasn't a high production card, but and then all the way up to the 1909, the T206s. And the cards are unnumbered, and the only thing on the front of the cards is where it says the logo for chewing and smoking at the bottom. So you can see what the cards look like here. And I don't have mine with me. I have a couple of these cards. I do have the Cap Anson, but you can see what they look like as far as just the player photo, and the name is right underneath, and then the logo, and the backs are just black. But interesting set of cards, and I'll go on and show you a little bit more about this set now that I'm at it here. The cards are 1 5/8 by 2 7/8 and are slightly larger than most early tobacco issues. because they are bigger than the T206. Again, they were put in tins, not actual cigarette packs. So they are bigger. And the players are identified within the portrait in various ways. Cincinnati Reds shortstop Jeremy Smith is listed as G.O. Smith. Others have the first initial, while still others are merely just the last name and a position, such as Ganzo and so on. And there's always been speculation that the set was issued in late 1894 instead of, or in addition to 1895. This is because some players who switched teams in 1894 or early 1895 are shown in the uniform of their 1894 team. And I've shown mine. I have the Hall of Fame. It says Hall of Fame catcher Buck Ewing is one of them. He can be found in the uniform of either 1894 Cleveland Spiders, who released him in early 1894, or the 1895 Cincinnati Reds. And I have the Buck Ewing Cleveland Spiders edition one. Is the 1894 edition. So, and you can see them in some of my videos. Those are in the safe deposit box, so I didn't pull these out. But I did have, since I was showing one of the football, it also talks about the football cards. So it goes on, and there's the Buck Ewing right there, as you see in the Cleveland, and that's the one I have. And I also have the Cap Anson, who is also over here. That's the big card in the set is the Cap Anson, but there's a lot of other stars. There's the Dan Brothers, and you know, just a bunch of other guys that really were stars, like Hugh Duffy and Kid Nichols and a few other big names. So it talks about the set here a little bit more, and then the main, you know, about the players, and then it talks about the set. That it says that 1895 Cup Plug ultimately consisted of 48 cards of the 40 different players, and there was but one major league in 1895, the National League. Then in its 20th year operation, it consisted of 12 teams in one division, and there were 6 teams in the Eastern Seaboard, stretching from Boston to Washington, and 6 located in Pittsburgh and Point West. So it goes on to talk about some of the players there, Jack Glasscock, Dan Brothers, and a few other guys, and some errors and stuff in the set. But it's a real nice set, and I'll go into detail when I go back and do the recap of my videos for the 1900s, the 1800 cards. And we'll talk a little bit about that. But it continues to go on and talk about, you know, the error cards, and then it talks about the other Mayo cards. And that's what I wanted to talk about, because it tells you here, again, it talks about some of the error cards in the set, and you can see that it talks about that. I'm not going to go into it, but some names were misspelled, like Russi or Russi. It was misspelled, Amos Russi, with 2 S's versus 1, and, you know, just a couple of other stuff like that. There were 2 other erroneous, uncorrected names of Otis Stocksdale. It said Stockdale instead of Stocksdale. So there's a few other things like that that actually, you know, are mistakes. Let me turn off that phone, sorry. So anyway, let me just go ahead and finish off on the ones with the football. So the football was the N300. Baseball was the N300. And the football set was the N302. So you can see here, one is the N302, which has 36 football players, and all colleges, because basically they were colleges. In their Ivy League schools, it was Harvard, Yale, and Princeton. And it talks about all the players in the set. And there are a couple of Hall of Famers, but really they're college players, so they're not really in the Hall of Fame, they're in the College Hall of Fame. And the N302 football set, it says here, the N303 football set is harder to locate than the companion baseball set. For this reasons, The commons go for at least twice the price of the baseball common. However, none of them approach the prices of the Hall of Fame players from the baseball set, like Cap Anson, because most of them really are kind of just college guys. So one Mayo football card, and this is what I wanted to show you here. One Mayo football card is priced as a common, but has an arguably prominent connection, and that is the one of Poe, which is Poe's grandson, or related to Edgar Allan Poe. So that card is worth a little bit more. But the main set, and there was a lot of errors in this set, and this was one of the big ones. The set's final card is unique because the player is not named. For a century, this card was listed in catalogs and price guides merely as anonymous. It was not until the 21st century that the player was identified as halfback John Dunlop of Harvard. And Dunlop was a good player at the time. It says, because Mayo ceased printing of this card when the error was spotted, or for some other reason, few of these cards were issued. Less than 20 are known to exist, and what I found is probably less than 10 are known to exist. And it is arguably the most valuable football card in existence. It is called the Honus Wagner of football cards, but it seems an exaggeration. It seems, but there's less of them in the rarest set. Well, they're certainly scarcer than a Wagner T206. One brings only thousands, not millions, at an auction, and that's really the thing there. It's definitely not like Honus Wagner. First, it's not as famous, and people don't recognize it as much, but it is the rarest football card in existence. Here's my copy. None of these have gone up for sale in many, many, many years. The only one that's gone up for sale has been this one. And you're not going to find it very often. So the error on this card was that they forgot his name and the team. But they figured out that it was John Dunlop, the star running back for Harvard, one of the best teams in the era. And John Dunlop went on to become a coach and one of the best players of the era. So this card, you could see that it is bigger than the T206s, and there's the logo on the bottom that says Mayo Cut Plug for chewing and smoking, and they're actually a sepia tone photograph of the player kind of stuck on cardboard stock, and in this case it's black. They're all black cardboard stock. So it's kind of a cool set that you just don't see very often. And here you can see some of the football players in that set. You can see some of the football players in the set there with the Dunlop Anonymous card. And the Anonymous card, it's just extremely rare. I was just lucky to get one, and it was one that just they still don't come up, and you're not going to see one for sale because they've been put away. But also there's also some as kind of part of the set, or another set that they did was the boxing, and you can see here that they did produce Mayo boxing cards also, and those are kind of again just as rare. And the Mayo boxer set, we'll go down and check that out a minute here. So it sets down here. Let's see if I can get to it. It's the N310, and it says here. Let me show you here. The other companion set. So Mayo produced again during those years, 1894 and 1895. It produced the baseball, the football, and the boxers. So the other companion set is the N300 Mayo baseball set is the set of 35 boxers issued about the same time. The set is cataloged N310 and is usually dated to 1890. But that is an approximation made after the fact that some men in the set fought professionally as early as 1880, and others went well active into the 20th century. And again, it's formatted the same as the other ones, the baseball and the football. So it talks about some of the boxers that are in there. You know, it does have stars like Jim Corbett, John L. Sullivan, and you know, interesting card. It's got Joe Walcott. So it's really a cool, another one of these 19th century sets that is really, really cool and just different, you know. And we'll talk a little bit more about some of this when I continue my series on the pre-war cards. But I wanted to share this article because it was just super cool and super interesting, and it just caught my attention, and it showed talked about the anonymous card. So I wanted you guys to get a good look at that anonymous card and where that card would have been found. Would have been found in one of these tins full of tobacco back in the 1894 and 1895. So pretty cool stuff. You know, this is the kind of stuff that I really enjoy, and I want to share some of this with you guys so you can learn a little bit about the pre-war, and then you know, we'll go all the way back to the first cards ever made back in the 1850s, 60s, and 70s and stuff like that in future videos. So thanks again for watching, guys. Really appreciate it. Please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you on the next one. This is Orlando from A Collector's Dream. Thanks for watching.